Okay, I've got a few things to say about this video that Lauren Southern did that is called Why I Hate Being a Woman in the Workforce. Okay, now, this isn't an attack video against Lauren Southern, okay, because I think that like what has happened as what happens to quite a few women, it seems, when they spend a lot of time like in the manosphere, in the red pill community, listening to all like the negativity about women, is that they kind of start to internalize it a little bit and start to sort of like believe it and think the worst of their own gender. Okay, which is also why I think that Lauren Southern has pushed back a little bit against some of the toxicity in the manosphere. Okay, but anyway, getting on with the video.
Now, I know some of you would love to watch a women should stay at home barefoot in the kitchen video, mostly because I know how much some of you sickos absolutely love feet, but unfortunately that is just not an option right now, thanks to Brandon, Putler, Trudeau, and modern crony capitalism forcing families to function on 2 salaries, even if they just want 1 breadwinner.
Well, you could always decide to pick a rich husband so that then you only need 1 salary so you can stay at home and then talk about how you're one of the good women that are doing the right thing and being at home and baking and cooking and keeping an immaculate house like the good women. Ignoring the fact that the women that like aren't at home all the time cooking and baking, it might just be because they didn't actually care about how much the husband earned in the first place, and that the good women that are like doing everything right kind of relied on finding a rich man in the first place. You know, I've listened to the Red Pillars talk about how they think women are, by nature, all gold-digging whores that'll always pick a man, like, that has more money than them. But then, like, if a woman, like, doesn't care how much money a guy has, or doesn't think it matters if she earns more, or if they earn the same, or anything like that, they then, like, get annoyed about that and talk about how women are pinching men's jobs, and if the woman earns more, it emasculates the man, and that the women should be at home looking after the children. And I kind of think, like, some of these red pillars, they, like, should make up their mind with all their complaining about women. Like, are you upset with women being in the home, or are you upset with women being in the workplace? Because, you know, depending on where you look at on YouTube, they could be complaining about either, and there are some of them that will complain about both, okay? So, as we all know by now, women cannot win, okay?
So women are in the workforce and here to stay, whether we like it or not.
And I really wonder why anybody should be saying that they dislike having women in the workplace in the first place.
Wage slaving with all you lads. Woohoo! We're all in this economic crash together. But I think anyone with eyes can see that this has caused a lot of problems. Women and men working together.
And if you've listened to the Red Pill long enough, you will know by now that all problems in the workplace, and all problems in the world for that matter, should purely be the blame on women. Women being bad, men being good, any allegations of sexual assault or sexual harassment always being false allegations 100% of the time.
Alright, so let's get into all the problems of my womanness. Let's start from the top. Despite popular belief, I was not born into this world with some red pill right-wing awareness of everything going on around me. In fact, I spent most of my childhood and teen years playing outside, going to anime conventions, wanting to be an archaeologist like Indiana Jones, and, you know, planning to go to university and do some sort of career like most people plan for when they're younger. I was never thinking, oh, as a woman, I'm going to have this extremely different experience than the average person when I go into the workforce that I'm going to have to account for.
Okay, first of all, using the term average person, okay? A woman is an average person, alright? We make up 50% of the population, well, about 50% of the population, okay? We are just as human as what men are. I find it interesting how a lot of red pillars, they talk as if like women are like a different creature. Like, men are the right way to be human, women are just somewhat different. So, you know, like, we're not an average person. It's like, yeah, we are an average person, okay? Just as human as the men.
When you're younger, especially when you're a kid or a teenager, you kind of have this illusion of the world that everything is working the way it's supposed to, based on the constant public images that every industry works so hard to project. It's all just hunky-dory corporate advertising of men and women smiling next together in business suits with thumbs up. But little do you know, behind those soulless smiles is a deeper resentment than you could ever imagine towards the opposite sex. One fueled by bitterness towards hiring practices, mismanagement of sexual dynamics, real assault allegations, fake assault allegations, power dynamic pressures, and all the sorts of nightmares that come about when women and men work together. And I'm not saying that women and men can never work together well. That's not true. I know that's not true, as I work with tons of fantastic, talented men. Although if you've ever paid attention, you'll probably notice every single one of my main film crews have either been gay men or extremely Christian men. From my initial Rebel crew to Kaylin and George to John Dutois, Scooter Downey, when the sexual dynamics are gone out of the picture absolutely, it makes everything so much easier to just focus on the actual projects you're working on, right? But even within my own carefully curated world in the workforce that I have created specifically to get rid of a lot of these nightmarish dynamics other people deal with, I still face a massive problem. And that is the crisis of eternal self-doubt, imposter syndrome, if you will. And knowing that everyone around me is also doubting me as a woman. And before you freak out and say to yourself, but Lauren, how could you possibly whine and complain about this? Women are propped up in literally every aspect of society right now. I'm going to tell you that you're exactly right. We don't stand on our own 2 feet. Instead, we are propped up artificially. Just like Marxism, feminism's analytical nature highlighted some very real problems. These left-wing ideologies are good at highlighting crises in society, but always the issue is the proposed absolutely awful solutions, which have been far more of a hindrance, a nightmare to my life, than a help. And I think it's the same for any women in the workforce. No one will ever think I have earned what I built. Or at the very least, I will always have mass doubts from the public, or even people I know as friends and acquaintances who probably just won't say it out loud. There will always, no matter what, be the perception or the idea that I only got where I am because I am a woman. And honestly, who could blame people for thinking that?
Okay, well, first of all, I would think that if people assume that Lauren Southern has only got where she is because she's a woman, well, I think that is extremely shallow and prejudiced on their part, because I don't think that you would be able to get ahead if you were not very good at your job. Right, like, when I think about my job, right, now, I would never have thought about, like, gender and the job that I do, like, if it wasn't for, like, listening to so much of, like, you know, the red pill and the manosphere and all that, okay, I don't think I would have thought about it otherwise. Okay, so since you bring it up and make me think about it, I would say that, well, yeah, I do think that part of the reason why I am in the job that I do is because I'm a woman, but not because of being propped up or any special quotas or anything like that. It's because I do a job that men mostly don't want to do, okay? Because I've heard a lot from red pillars about how women don't like to do any hard work, women don't want to do any dirty jobs, women don't do anything that's important to society, women only want to sit in a comfortable office and all this kind of stuff. And it annoys me just a little bit because, like, I do a job where, like, I'm on the go all day, and, like, the stuff that I am handling is actually some of the, like, dirtiest stuff that you could imagine, okay? And, like, from what I see, not very many men would like to do the job that I do, okay? Not so many men are, like, interested in, like, anything that involves, say, like, caring for the elderly or caring for people with dementia and stuff like that, okay? Some men do it, but that's normally, like, not men that want to do it, okay? And I'm going to point out as well here that, like, when we all went into lockdown due to the COVID pandemic, right, quite a large percentage of the key workers, the people that still had to keep on working and couldn't be put out of work, were women, okay? Quite a large percentage of them were women. And I couldn't help but think, like, was this part of the reason why, like, right-wingers and red pillars would, like, complain about the praise that, like, nurses were getting? Because, like, I mean, not all nurses are women, but there are more women nurses than there are men, okay? And I kind of think, like, is, like, part of the reason why people on the right were complaining is because, like, they'd seen a real red pill, okay? The real red pill being that actually women are useful in our society, you know, not just for, like, looking after their children, which, by the way, that is extremely useful. I'm not undermining that, but I'm just saying it's not the only use women have. And I think people kind of saw, you know, the red pill, the manosphere, they've been going on for years about how useless women are, you know, outside the home, and, like, women don't do any important jobs. But when we all went into lockdown and, like, we got to see, like, which people, like, actually did carry on working and couldn't stop working, a lot of them were women. And I think a lot of the complaining about nurses is because they saw the real red pill, and that is that, oh, actually, yeah, women do have more of a use in our society than what these guys actually wanted to think, okay? Now, to be clear here, I do think that all of us should be grateful for, like, all the workers that, like, keep our society going. Yeah, absolutely. And the people that were, you know, put out of work due to the lockdowns, like, that, you know, they did deserve our sympathy at the time, okay? That was a very stressful time for a lot of people, and you could make an argument, obviously, that, like, the key workers, you could say, well, actually, they were lucky because, you know, still, like, being able to, you know, earn a wage. Well, like, some people were obviously worried about what they're going to do about money, okay? I also kind of find it, like, interesting that, like, so many people look down their nose on cleaners, okay? But, like, cleaners were still needed. They were still essential workers. Like, in almost, like, any place, like, cleaners are essential, okay? Like, you couldn't do without the cleaners. They are very important to our society. They are more important than, like, some posh guy who sat in an office. And so many people, like, look down on cleaners, and I kind of thought, well, you know, it was a little bit of an eye-opener, you know, like, the lockdown, when you, like, realise, like, oh, wow, yeah, like, these are the people that are needed, actually. And a large percentage of them are women.
Women right now are entering the workforce based on ideas of diversity hiring, where they're practically useless in some positions and proceed to act like they're in charge just because they got it from a quota. If you ask men in trades that work on the oil rigs or docks or wherever how they feel about women that have been put in the field with them, They don't think a single woman should be there. And they all know deep down they wouldn't be if it weren't for progressive hiring policies. They simply cannot naturally compete in these industries. I mean, sort of, because like everything in nature, there are exceptions. In a true meritocracy, you would see a very small handful of women scattered throughout the workforce, even the man-centric workforce, and those women are there right now to an extent, but there will always be a shadow over their career, because who can truly say that any of them got there purely on their own merits? It's impossible to tell, which means that now women in the workforce are almost guaranteed to have a case of imposter syndrome. Those that are there based on quota hires know deep down that they don't belong there. And a lot of them get really angry by this idea, and they try to overcompensate for it by being more aggressive in workplaces, more nasty or masculine, because they're trying to compensate for the fact that you probably shouldn't have the job in the first place. Well, those who actually made it of their own volition can never know how much impact feminist ideology had on their careers. How much of it did they actually earn themselves? It's really hard to admit that I've thought about this when it comes to myself for a long time. So if you're a woman watching this, we're basically left with two options in the career world. One, you can either cheat the system, do minimal work, fill those quota positions, and feel shit about yourself forever knowing you didn't actually earn it, or you can work your ass off, be doubted the entire time, and never know whether those quotas helped you out or not, and still feel like shit. Although if we're going to get real depressing, the second option isn't even really an option. It's just not true, because no matter how hard you try or how hard you work to make it on your own, this woman-centric hiring system we're in now probably did give you advantages, whether you leaned into them or not. For my part, I probably did only get into political work in YouTube because I'm a woman. I wasn't aware of it at the time. I wasn't trying to take advantage of it by any stretch. I just genuinely thought I was entering a system where women and men work together equally, right? But the reason I got accepted on so many panels was because they needed a female conservative representative. They didn't want the stereotypical white male sitting there like every other one. And the reason my critiques of feminism went so viral is because I was a woman saying them and not a man. And that's terrifying. That is terrifying to think about, because then that self-doubt, it's even more ingrained in your head. It's no longer actually a doubt. It's just a reality. And I detest this more than anything.
It is true that if you're a woman who's like talking about like your conservative beliefs, or talking about your anti-feminist beliefs, or you're sticking up for men's rights, it is true that they are more likely to want more women to do that rather than just have the stereotype men, because like they want to like break away from the sort of like reputation of it being like the sexist man wanting to oppress women kind of thing. All right, and some people are more likely to listen to a woman talking about men's rights because they don't so much expect a woman to be interested in this, or it's not actually like something that is to a woman's benefit, like to be anti-feminist or like them. Some people are going to be more impressed by a woman talking about men's rights issues. That is true. Okay, I see that she is likely to get more credit for being a woman from some people. Okay, but you are like benefiting their movement, by like talking about some of the unfairness towards men. It is a big benefit, even if people are more likely to listen to you because you're a woman. Like it's still to their benefit to have women talk about this. Okay, so it's not like you're not improving like the men's rights movement kind of thing. Now I think I can kind of maybe understand a little bit like why this is sort of causing Lauren Southern to have like a bit of, say, like an imposter syndrome, right? Because I think like in the kind of career she has, all right, yeah, you will get some men that will give her like more credit like for being a woman, but then you will also get like some men who are extremely negative about women, okay, and like whatever you do like won't like you because you're a woman. Or there are some men that will like you like as long as you make videos like this talking about how women aren't that good in the workplace, they'd all be better off at home looking after kids and being stay-at-home mums and all that. But if you were to dare like say, well, actually, yeah, you do think women can be capable of doing good things outside the home, then some of those guys that like really worship you won't like you so much. Or like, as long as you stick up for men's rights, red pillars, MGTOW and all that, there'll be some guys that will treat you like you're wonderful. But as soon as you like dare like express an opinion that they don't like saying like as Lauren has done before, like she has said that she doesn't like she doesn't agree with some of the extremists in the manosphere and red pill and all that. If you speak out against any of that, then sometimes some of these guys that really thought you were really great will then go the other way and really dislike you and be really mad at you. Okay, so I can kind of maybe understand why Lauren is feeling a little bit like this, because I said before, like, women are just regular people. They are just 50% of the population, okay? And I think most people in the workplace actually don't think about gender. I don't think most women have imposter syndrome, or that most men and women are thinking about the gender of the staff, okay? But in Lauren's case, she actually kind of is doing a job where she is judged, like, for being a woman, okay? Sometimes being judged more on being a woman rather than just a regular human, okay? And that there's some people who, like, yeah, will put women on a pedestal, and particularly if it's a woman who's sticking up for them and be like, oh, yeah, you're wonderful. And then there's other people the other way that will just talk about how useless women are and how stupid women are and just be, like, really the extremist misogynists, okay? So it's like on the one hand being told you're brilliant and on the other hand being told you're rubbish, and it's all just because you're a woman, okay? Rather than, like, judging you as just a regular person, okay? So I maybe understand why she's feeling a little bit like that with this situation, but I think that this is kind of the attitude that some people have that that doesn't help, as in that, like, people, you know, shouldn't be putting women on a pedestal and treating them like they're special, but also shouldn't be, like, treating them like they're rubbish and needing to tear them down and wanting them to fail, okay?
Feminism has ensured that no matter what I do, no matter what I achieve, I can never be fully proud of it as a woman. Of course, you know, I can enjoy my life and what I have, what I've built, but I will always, no matter what, have that little voice in the back of my head saying, do you truly deserve this? And, you know, I fight with myself internally, mentally, saying, you know, there's a lot of women in the world that could have done this career path. They could have taken the same risks as you. They could have put in the same effort to make movies, to make, you know, videos, and they didn't. So clearly you've done something of your own volition that is worthwhile that other people chose not to do. But there's still going to be that question of how I would have actually fared in a true meritocracy.
Well, I kind of thought, like, in my opinion, Lauren Southern has actually, like, had the guts to sort of go out and, like, protest and, like, actually go out of their way to sort of stick up for men and men's issues. Well, a lot of the guys that, like, will just bitch about her and bitch about other women, they're not doing anything for men. They're just, like, sat there every day on the internet rubbishing women, or, like, some of the red pillars, like, they make a career out of, once again, rubbishing women rather than, like, actually even talking about men's rights issues. So I kind of think, like, regarding, like, so I kind of think, like, well, why should you feel like you're less deserving of, like, what you've earned than, like, these guys that they're just making money out of rubbishing women because, like, there's an audience of, like, bitter men that they can, like, con out of money.
So instead of feminism fostering a genuine respect and understanding between men and women, making them able to work in the same environment and see each other's value add, it's created this constant resentment. We know, as women, that men, in many cases, rightly so, doubt our abilities. And they're just playing along with what is socially acceptable to say out loud. They're never going to say what they're actually thinking because they'll get fired from their job or excommunicated from society. So they all just sit on the sidelines and they're like, you're doing great, queen. Keep it up, girl boss.
Actually, I don't think it's rightly so that, like, men should doubt your ability just because you're a woman, okay? I would say that's sexual discrimination, okay? People should be judged on their individual merits, okay? Like, when you're working with anybody, like, surely you get to know them and get to see their performance before you make up your mind whether they're good at their job or not, okay? Some women are going to be rubbish and some men are going to be rubbish. Some women are going to be good at their job and some men are going to be good at their job. But, like, whether you're a man or a woman, you're not going to get very far if you're really not very good at your job, okay? Like, I mean, even, like, if, like, yeah, people are more likely to want to hear a woman's opinion on men's rights or conservative issues, it's like, we're still not going to get anywhere if nobody thinks you've got anything intelligent to say, are they?
And on the flip side, men resent women because they know damn well that they're being overlooked for positions that they would rightfully get in a just system. So what do we do about this? I mean, it's probably too late to kick all women out of the workforce. I think that ship has sailed. And it's not like we aren't some value add in some aspects of the career world. We are, for sure.
Well, no, of course, women shouldn't be kicked out of the workforce. And if that would be genuine sexism, if people wanted women kicked out of the workforce, and that would be a genuine oppression. If you were going to say to women that you're not allowed to work, you're not allowed to have a career, you're all going to be forced to be stay-at-home mums, well, then that would be oppressing women, okay? Women have a right to choose what they want to do. And, no, you're wrong. Women aren't some value to the workforce. Women are a lot of value to the workforce, okay? Because, as I've mentioned before, there's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of careers that are mostly female-dominated, that are very important careers, okay?
But the way we have introduced women into this world has doomed us to failure and doomed us to these gender wars that we're seeing now.
Do you not think, Lauren, that part of the gender war is actually because some men in the red pill community do not like the fact that women are getting more successful, okay? Young women are more educated than young men nowadays, and young women are earning more than young men nowadays. And I think that that is some of the reason why you get anger in the red pill community, okay? And why there's so many women bashing videos. And I don't mean women are still proving that we are capable of doing stuff, that we do have brains in our heads, that we're, you know, and that we are valuable in this society, not just for having children and raising children. We're proving that we can do stuff outside the home as well. And there are some guys who are terrified by that, okay? And, like, sitting there giving all this about how, like, oh, wow, women don't earn their place, and, like, oh, you know, maybe it'd be better if we kick women out the workforce. It's like, what is that all really about? Is it that, like, you've listened to so much of this misogyny now that, like, you're actually, like, it's affecting you and you're thinking less of your gender? Or is this to make, like, guys that are angry and insecure feel, like, better about themselves? Because, like, that's not the solution. I mean, you know, for so many years, women hadn't been, like, given the same opportunities as men, and everybody, like, just assumed that women, like, didn't want that, or women wouldn't be really particularly that good at anything. And women proving that that's wrong is, like, upsetting to some of these guys. That's where some of the anger is coming from.
I think talking about it openly helps. Honesty and openness about the reality will likely soften the blow and at least help people manage their expectations before entering the workforce. And it does give me a slight amount of comfort knowing that I am working for myself now. I'm not being propped up by some political party, some organization, or media company. If anything, YouTube is curating me out of the view system, right? So the people watching my videos are watching of their own volition. At least I hope. I suppose I don't know if you're all attached to chairs with your eyes wide open, being forced to increase your female content creator viewership. But, you know, unless you're checking out my channel for completely masochistic reasons, I must not be saying things that are completely retarded. And I truly appreciate you guys watching that think that I have some value add to this conversation. But either way, no matter how many of you think that, modern feminism has still doomed me to have these feelings forever, to never be fully proud of what I've made, to know that no matter how hard I work, there will always be people who perceive me as getting a leg up. And it's one of those things that will just haunt you for the rest of your life in everything that you do. And it is so frustrating to see feminists all day talking about how hard it is for women to break through in certain industries while they are creating the exact reasons why this happens. I have walked into a room and felt genuine sexism and known that that sexism against me actually had some validity. That's what's effed up, right? They're not being sexist against me because they hate women. They're being sexist because they're all wondering, did feminism make her get through that door? Because there's a good chance she didn't do it on her own. And now I have to deal with that. Feminism created sexism. So thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Anyways, I guess I just kind of wanted to get this rant out of my system and see if it resonated with anyone else. I cannot possibly be the only woman in this position. I don't know. Maybe the rest of you are just able to ignore it, shove these feelings to the side. If so, I envy you. I cannot. And for the men watching, I wanted to let you know I understand the anger and resentment you might feel due to this. But don't let that feeling win, because many women did not ask to be in this position. None of us certainly asked to be in a garbage economy that makes it so that one income is never enough. We're kind of stuck in this crony capitalist progressive hell together. And instead of fostering this resentment towards the opposite sex, other victims of this system, we need to be honest about the circumstances and take a look at the people actually pitting us against each other. Who are the politicians? Who are the HR departments? Who are the advocacy groups setting up these conditions? They're the ones at fault, not your fellow man and woman who more than ever need your love, and we need to be united in fighting back against these people. But anyways, I appreciate you all watching this, especially because it's a hell of a lot cheaper than therapy to just make a YouTube video about my imposter syndrome and read your comments after, which I very much look forward to doing. I will catch you all next time.
Okay, well, this didn't resonate with me, but that's probably because I don't work with people that are just sexist against women, okay? Don't work in that kind of environment that's like a man versus women kind of thing, okay? Something else I wanted to talk about, because I noticed a lot of the commentators in the comment section of Lauren's video, they were talking about pretty privilege and discussing, whether it helps a woman's YouTube career if she's attractive. And I wanted to talk about this, because I heard a lot about this, okay? Now, I think if somebody is attractive, it does help in certain careers, okay? But that is whether you're a man or a woman, okay? Because if you think about certain things like movies, okay? The movies you like. Now, the leading man and the leading woman are normally attractive, okay? Or if you think about singers, or if you think about pop groups, they're normally attractive, okay? So, pretty privilege or attractiveness privilege, I think it definitely is a thing, yeah? But if somebody was really attractive but they couldn't act, they're not going to become a good big movie star, okay? If somebody was really attractive but they couldn't sing, they're not going to make it as a singer or in a pop group or anything like that, okay? So they'd have to be talented as well. Now, when it comes to YouTube, I think that if somebody's attractive and they're showing their face, it probably is going to get them more fans, more viewers, more subscribers, yeah. But I don't think people would listen to you if they didn't find what you had to say interesting as well, okay? Because if a man wanted to look at a pretty woman, they're not hard to find on the internet, are they? Or if a guy only wanted to listen to YouTube videos that were done by attractive women, well, again, there's thousands of them, okay? So he's still going to pick, the attractive women whose opinions that he likes as well. Because I can remember, I've seen, loads of comments before that red pillars would make in the comment section to, women YouTubers, where they'll say stuff like, oh, you've only got lots of views because you're attractive. If you weren't attractive, you wouldn't have any subscribers. You'd have 0 subscribers if it wasn't for your looks. I've seen comments like that that they make on women's channels loads of times, and I kind of think again, this is just a way of trying to tear women down and try to tell them they can't be good at anything, because well, first of all, they're forgetting that not all of the woman's subscribers are going to be men, okay? They kind of forget, once again, that 50% of the population are women, okay? So some of their subscribers are going to be women, okay? And then out of the men that subscribe to them, well, not all of the men are going to be attracted to the woman, okay? Because not all of the men are going to be straight even in the first place, okay? But, as I said, even, if the men are attracted to you, and part of the reason why they watch you is because they find you attractive, they're still not going to bother, sitting there listening to all your videos if they don't find what you have to say interesting as well, okay? And, some men, they kind of defended this as well. There have been some men on YouTube that have said, well, actually, when I watch videos, well, when I listen to videos, I'm doing other stuff, so I'm not watching the screen, so I don't just listen to what a woman says because I find her attractive. I listen because I find, if I find what she's saying interesting. Some guys have defended this and said, no, we don't just subscribe to women YouTubers because we find them attractive, okay? Because, some red pillars, they're kind of sexist about both genders, if you actually listen to them properly, okay? Because, well, they make out that if you're a woman, you can only get by on your looks, you can't be smart, you can't be interesting, you can't have anything interesting to say or anything of value to add in the world, you must just get by on your looks, okay? But they also make out that men only think with their dicks as well, if you're a man and you're listening to a woman, it must be because you fancy her. If you talk to a woman, it must be because you fancy her. If you ever do anything nice for a woman, it must be because you fancy her. If you acknowledge women as human beings in the world and see them as just humans, they'll accuse you of just being nice to her and just acknowledging her existence because you want to have sex with her, okay? It's they have a low opinion of both genders, okay? It's some guys can just see women as fellow human beings. Some they like, some they don't, some they find interesting, some they don't, okay? And I really don't think that anybody would bother listening to a woman's YouTube videos if they didn't find them interesting. Because if they just wanted an attractive woman to look at, there's thousands, millions, okay? So, yeah, I don't think that Lauren really needs to feel like she hasn't earned what she's worked for just because she's a woman, whether you agree with her opinions or not. I don't think that she's, just got where she is for being a woman. I think somebody could be an attractive woman, but if they didn't have anything, if they weren't smart or they didn't have anything that some people find interesting to say, they wouldn't get anywhere. So anyway, that's all I've got to say about that for now. Thank you for listening.